Good day, everyone. How are we doing today? Hope your day has been going well. My day has been good too. We are going to hit the last part of the lecture today. I must apologize for the poor recording of the last one. Hopefully, it will not happen again. Please bear with us. All right, we are going into topic 5 for today. But before we go into topic 5, I'd like to make some corrections on the last assignment I gave to you. I noticed some people couldn't plot that bar chart. I showed you two different ways of doing it. You have the manual way, where you just do your measurements on a paper, rule the bars by yourself and all. Somebody did it that way and snapped it. But technology keeps improving. That's why I had to show you how to do it on Excel. When you work with Excel, it does the calculation for you automatically. You don't have to spend your energy doing any calculation or measurements or anything. Just give it the figures and it does the work for you. So we are going to just do a simple bar chart before we go into this topic 5 work for today, for the sake of those that have not really mastered it. We are going to plot a bar chart. Let's say you're working with different kinds of insects. You have mosquito, housefly. Let's just pick 4 different kinds of insects. Okay, let's our data here. Let's say you work with mosquitoes, housefly, cockroach, and then ants. Okay, let's say for mosquitoes you had 30 samples. For housefly you have 50. For cockroach you have 20. And for ants you have 60. All you need to do is bring out your data this way. Write the names of the insects and then the numbers you have. That is all. Then the next thing is to highlight all of them. Click on insert. You want to insert a graph. You click on insert. You come to where you have charts because you want to plot a chart. Looking at the chart, you have the line graph, the pie chart, and the rest of them. But what we are going to do, what we need here is the bar graph, the bar chart. So we click on this bar. It gives you different designs. You pick any of the designs you want. You can pick this 2D column. Once you click on it, your graph automatically comes out. This is your graph. This is your graph. You can extend it depending on the size you want it to be, whether you want it to be bigger or to be smaller, however you want it. This is your graph. You can see the mosquito has 30, the housefly has 50, the cockroach, the smallest, has 20, and ants has 60. So this is your bar chart. There's really nothing in the computer. That's why the computer does practically everything for you. So this is just how to plot a bar chat. All right. I hope we've understood it now. Let's go back to what we have for today. Topic 5: Bibliographic citations and referencing styles. Introduction. Projects and other forms of research report writing are largely technical in nature, as had been explained and demonstrated in the preceding chapters. Part of what constitutes this technicality could be found in the way citations and references are made. No project or any other research report, for that matter, can be written independent of what others have done previously on that subject. I once told you, no man is an island. When you're working on a project topic, there's every likelihood that some other people have worked on such an area, and then you're going to improve on what they have done. After all, researchers are expected to build on previous efforts of others. So you're not building on the efforts that other people have done. You're using their work as a kind of foundation. You're building on it, trying to add a difference, make a difference to what was already in existence. To such an extent that what had been done in that area becomes the starting point for the present study. A starting point, and like I said, a kind of foundation for you to work on. It was in reference to this previous effort that the issue of bibliographic citation and referencing became very relevant and important. So you need to make reference to what others have done before. Bibliographic citations. At the center of literature review lies the critical issue of using and referring to previous efforts in what area? In that area, sorry. What the areas of interest were, how they carried out their studies, what the outcomes were, and so on. So you're kind of building on what they have done, looking at their areas of interest, looking at how they carried out their own studies. That will help you, kind of direct you on how to carry out your own studies. And then you see the outcomes that they also had. As much as it is permissible to refer, as it were, to these previous studies, research ethics demands that such referred works are duly acknowledged in the present work. Of course, you didn't do the work. They did the work. You did not do it. It is their work. So the least you could do is to acknowledge that this work was done by so person. When such an acknowledgement is done in the body of the writing. It is referred to as citation, since what was done is citing their work. For every work thus cited, full bibliographic details must be provided on it at the end of the work. For the typical project work, there are options as to where the references are located. The first thing to supply them as they occur. The first being to supply them as they occur at the end of each chapter. By such an arrangement, the work is expected to have 5 different sets of references. That's one for each chapter. For the 5 chapters, you're going to have 5 different sets of references, a set to a chapter. The second option is to combine everything at the end of the entire report, while the third is a combination of the two, in which case they are supplied at the end of the chapter, where they featured, while a bibliography is provided at the end of the work. So, in summary, we have 3 different methods. One, it's either you can cite it right inside the work. The second one is to put it at the end of the work, that's bibliography, at the end of the entire work. And then the third is to cite inside the work at the end of each chapter and also put it at the end of the work. Okay, so you as a research project writer, you decide on the one that is preferable to you. Okay. Meanwhile, there is just a little difference between references and bibliography, such that many tend to confuse the two. Whereas the term references refers to a list of works used in the course carrying out a particular research, bibliography includes these as well as other works, which, in the judgment of the author, have indirect benefits to the present effort. So references has to do with the what you use in the course of carrying out your research, those exact things that you use in the course of carrying out your research. While bibliography also includes all those ones that you use, but other works which can also benefit, which are also of benefit to the present effort. Thus, bibliography is intended to draw attention to other related materials, not necessarily the materials that you use, but materials that are also related to your work. Not directly used in the present work, okay, but considered to be of immense importance to other researchers who may be interested in related studies in the future. Like we said, you are not the first person that did that work. And of course, you're not going to be the last person to work in that area. So this bibliography, in as much as you didn't use it, some other materials that you did not use, it will also be of help to other people in future who may want to work in such area as you work. It will now help them to make reference. They can make references to those particular works. Okay. By and large, the idea of bibliographic citations and referencing has become one of a great significance in researchers, as well as in other technical writing generally. Their importance is central to literature review in a research as well as to the entire study. They enabled researchers to acknowledge the materials, information, ideas, opinions, theories, and others' findings, which had been consulted in the course of the present study. So it helps to acknowledge all those materials, information, ideas from other people that will also help you to do your own work. By so doing, the individual researcher frees himself from the widely acknowledged unethical and criminal practice in research, popularly known as plagiarism. This is an offense bordering on copyright infringement, where a researcher fails to acknowledge the intellectual properties of others they have used in the course of his own study. So it's actually a criminal practice. It's very unethical when you make reference to somebody else's work and then you fail to acknowledge that this work was done by this particular person. It's a crime, it's a criminal offense. So whenever you make reference to somebody else's work, you should be able to acknowledge that work. That frees you from this particular crime. Okay, thus using others' intellectual properties is not the offense here. Rather, it is the lack of acknowledging the fact that what was used actually belongs to others. You can't make reference to somebody else's work and then you begin to claim that it is you that did the work. So when you make reference, you acknowledge the person. The offense is not in making the reference. It's a normal thing. No man is an island. No man knows it all. It's a normal thing. Somebody has worked in that area before. You're now working on it. So it's very normal for you to make reference. But where it becomes an offense is where, after making the reference, you don't acknowledge. The act of referencing simply provides for this much desired acknowledgement. This applies not only in project writing, but in all cases of technical reporting and writing, such that it forms a part of the criteria for judging the quality of such work, hence its significance. Okay, we move over to styles of referencing. Styles of referencing. There is no doubt that several forms and styles of referencing are in existence, all taking their roots from the age-long and traditional form being the footnote. According to Adeniyi 2001, you can see a kind of reference. This person is being acknowledged right now. According to Adeniyi 2001, the choice of a particular style is often published in recognized literature or text, some of which include 1. Campbell W. E. and S.V. Ballon, 1974. Forms and styles of writing theses, research reports, and term papers. Strong Seeds, W. and E.B. White, 1962. The Elements of Styles. The Modern Language Association Styles, MLA. Sarabian R.L., 1987. A Manual for Writers of Term Papers, Theses, and Dissertations. Then 5. The Publication Manual of American Psychological Association, APA. Each of these sources listed above provides ample information regarding the styles of referencing as favored by the authors or associations responsible for their creation. So if you're looking at styles of referencing, you can go to any of those. A general assessment of these formats reveals that a broad categorization into two main classes is possible. So let's take the classes of let's put it down. Styles of references. Okay. Styles of references. The first one is the traditional or classic format. That is the numbering of footnotes. Traditional or classic format. The traditional or classic format. And then the next one is the author date format. Author date format. Okay, let's take it one after the other. The traditional or classic format. This referencing format had survived from the early civilization and scholarship. Great authors and writings of the ancient, the medieval, and Renaissance have heavily employed the use of those formats. A typical example of which is the footnote. Footnoting is quite similar to the modern-day numbering format, since both employ the use of numbers, though in slightly different ways. Such classical writing as those of William Shakespeare and other literary giants of the early times use the avenue of the footnote, not for referencing purpose only, but also for explaining the difficult aspects of such works as they relate to the individual pages of their works. This is because the citations are to be found at the bottom of the pages where they occur, following the pattern of the numbers assigned them in the body of the work. So this footnote is actually for convenience. It is not just for referencing purposes. It helps you to understand the difficult aspects of the work. When you're reading the work, when you're going through the work, and you get to a place where you don't understand something, when you look at the footnote, it quickly explains that to you. So the convenience there is that they all appear at the same page. You don't have to start flipping through the pages of the work for you to look for the meaning of the word you don't understand. When you look down, you look at the meaning, at the footnote, and it helps you to quickly understand and move on. So it's actually for convenience. The primary advantage of their use is that of convenience, since the reader finds those information contained in the footnote readily available on the same page. So it's readily available for you. You just look down, look at the information, you get the information you need, and then you carry on with reading the work. Thus, the footnote serves as a real reference, hence its traditional or classic nature. This form of referencing has the distinctive nature of employing a great deal of Latin abbreviations, such as these Latin abbreviations help to make the work easier. At least it doesn't occupy it helps to occupy makes it to occupy less space. Let's look at these Latin abbreviations. You have the ibid, ibidem, which is to denote same place as previously cited work. Upside, opsite, opere citato, to denote that the citation is in the work cited, and it is quite similar to this first one, this ibid. 3. IE, id-s. This is very common. So many people know IE, I dot, E dot, to denote that is. When you're writing a work or looking into a work, you see IE. Instead of writing that is, you see IE. Very common. So many people know that. Number 4 is loc dot side, loc cite, loco citato, to denote the place cited. Let's just put this down again. The Latin abbreviations. Latin abbreviations. The first one we have IBID, IBIDEM, to denote same place as a previously cited work. To denote same place as a previously cited work. The second one is opsite, small letter C. That's opera citato. Opera citato. That's to denote that the citation is in the work cited. To denote that the citation is in the work cited. The next is this very common one that we know, IE, id-s. That's to denote that is. And the next one is loc cite. Loc, that is loco citato. Loco citato. And that is to denote the place cited. To denote the place cited. Okay, let's go back to the text. Apparently, this form of referencing employs the numbering styles, whereby numbers assigned to citations in the text corresponds with the order in which they appear under references. So the next one now is the author date format. Author date format. This contrasts with the one above as a modern format of referencing and the most widely adopted at present. Over time, this format has been closely associated with the specification of the American Psychological Association style of referencing. Adeni, 2001, said that this format takes its roots in 1929 when it was published in Psychological Bulletin of the American Psychological Association to serve as a guide to authors in the preparation of their manuscripts. This is the product of the association's recommendation on the standard procedure to which reference might be made in case of doubt. Since 1929, when first published, several revisions of the work came out in 1944, 1952, and 1974, thereby gaining wider acceptance. Since then, every edition had aimed at aiding authors in the preparation of manuscripts. Abdul Karim, 1980, attributed the wider acceptability enjoyed by this format today to its simplicity, clarity, conciseness, objectivity, and ease of understanding. It is not surprising, therefore, to find the format being used in virtually all areas of knowledge, especially with regards to all forms of technical report writing. You can see that everybody wants it simple. Everybody wants it easy. So you see why so many people make use of this style. It is simple, it is clear, it is concise, so many advantages, ease of understanding. So everybody prefers this one. Nobody wants unnecessary stress. How to cite within the body of the work in context. Using the APA style of referencing, there are certain specifications which seek to ensure standard and uniformity. First among these is the author date order of citation. Here the author's surname is provided while the publication date or year appear in parentheses, which follows immediately. So you need to be, this is very technical, you need to be very careful about this. Know how to write the names and where to put in the years and all. The author's surname, not the author's first name. Take note of that. The author's surname comes in, then the year comes in parentheses. Where the author's surname forms a part of the sentence or narration is a typical example. This is where the author's surname forms a part of the sentence. You write out the author's surname and then you put the year in parentheses. But when the author's surname does not form a part of either of these, both the name and the year are contained in the parentheses, separated by a comma. So you see the difference. When the surname forms a part of the sentence, you put the surname out, only the year will be in parentheses. But where it does not form a part of any of these, both the surname and the year will be in parentheses, but they must have to be separated by a comma. Example, Isa, 2007. You can see that both name and year are in parentheses. In this case, both do not form a part of the sentence or narrative as they come normally at the end of it. Alright, you look at rules guiding the use of quotation marks. Rules guiding the use of quotation marks. In using others' works, it may involve paraphrasing or summarizing the ideas or opinions expressed therein in one's own words. It is also common to find writers quoting directly, verbatim, that is word for word, from the source or sources. Here also, there are rules guiding the use of any of these. For instance, direct quotations which contain statements that are more than 50 words or more than 3 typewritten lines must be indented. This requires no use of the quotation marks as in the example below. Okay, so it's either you paraphrase, summarize in your own words, or you go word for word. That's verbatim. Example 1. In his contribution on the nature of reference materials, Kolawole 2003 remarks, general reference materials are broad in scope and contain a variety of information, oftentimes unrelated. The topics are only related by a common mode of arrangement. Reference materials cannot be borrowed for use out of the library except by some special arrangements. Reference books have been planned and written to be consulted for items of information rather than to be read from cover to cover. Wherever this type of direct long quotations are made, it is important to note that typing is done in single line spacing. When you have direct quotations like this, you do your typing in single line spacing, while the margin on both sides are clearly shown. So no double line spacing. You don't type without line spacing. There must be line spacing, but it has to be single. Note also that the citation, that is Kolawole 2003, in the example above, may follow immediately after the quotation, whereby both the name and date appear in parentheses. So you can see this. You can see the difference between this Kolawole 2003 and then Kolawole, 2003, all in parentheses. However, quotations containing fewer than 50 words and less than 3 typed reading lines need not be indented, since such quotations would run along in the body of the work. A way to distinguish such quotations, especially when they are of the direct form, is by the use of quotation marks. Alright. When quotes appear within quotations, single quotation marks are used to set out one from the other, as illustrated below. You can see where quotes appear within quotations. That you have the main quotation, and inside the main quotation you also have quotes. So the main quotation will be used. You will have double quotation mark for it, and the ones that appear inside, you use single quotation mark for it. Look at this example 1. In his discussion on the types of research, Aina 2001 states, you can see the main quotation starting with double quotation marks. There are 2 main types of research. These are, you see, this is inside the main quotation, so it uses single quotation mark. The basic or pure. Basic has single quotations, pure has single quotations, as well as applied research. Now, at the end of the main quotation, you have your double quotation, starting with double and ending with double. Then the ones within it have single quotation marks. Okay. We go to rules guiding the use of ellipses or dots. Another important element of this form of citation is the use of 3 dots or ellipses or points, which may come either at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end of the quotation, each having its own significance. This is illustrated in the examples below. Take note of those dots. You have just 3 dots. It cannot be less than 3, and it cannot be more than 3. Okay. Now, the significance depends on which part of the work they come in, whether at the beginning or at the middle or at the end. Let's look at these examples. 1. If the dots appear at the beginning of the statement, this means other statements have preceded the portion being quoted, with the quotation mark extending out to its beginning. You can look at this. We have some other words, some statements preceding this particular statement. We have ... and affirm that it is good to be good. You can see where the quotation mark starts from. You have the quotation mark first before you have the ... indicating that something came. There's a part of this statement that was cut off. And then after the last word, you have your ending quotation mark. The next one is, if the dots appear at the middle of the statement, it means other statements not considered to be of relevance to the issue at hand have been omitted. The omission came in the middle of the statement, within the statement. That is why you have the dot, dot, dot at the middle of the statement. This is usually done at the discretion of the author, and it may come up at any point within the quoted sentence or sentences. E.g., considering the dwindling state of our economy, high rate of unemployment, illiteracy level, you can see there is something between this level and one. Those ones are not considered relevant. That is why they were taken off and replaced with dot, 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 showing that there was actually something in there. One cannot but conclude that the nation is presently in a sorry state. The third one is, if at the end it means that there are other statements in the quotation which the writer did not deem fit to be included in his work, for reasons best known to him, of course. E.g., considering the ever-dwindling state of our economy, high rate of unemployment and illiteracy level, one cannot but conclude that the nation is presently in a sorry state, dot, dot, dot. That is to say, we still have some other statements after this state. So the dot, dot, dot covers it. And then you have your quotation mark at the end of the dot, dot, dot. All right. Note that only 3 dots are used for these purposes, and not more or less, as anything outside of this will be against the rule. So you must make sure that your dotting, you don't get carried away. Your dotting must be 3, not more, not less. All right. We go to citing inaccurate quotations. Citing inaccurate quotations. When using direct quotations, accuracy of quotes must be ensured to the extent that words misused or misspelled must appear as contained in the sources being quoted. To show that you have taken note of the mistake and prevent confusion on the part of the reader, the Latin word sic is written in a bracket and then underlined right in front of the misspelled or misused word. Thus, the sic sign is used to indicate that you are aware of the mistake contained in the quotation, thereby drawing readers' attention to it. The thing is, we said you can summarize or you can quote verbatim. When you're summarizing, you make sure you use the right words, the right spellings and all. But when you're quoting verbatim, whether you have wrong spellings or not, you must have to write it like that. But the only thing is that you have to indicate this SIC sign, this SIC sign, to show that in as much as you're typing this wrong word, you're aware that this is a wrong word. And it helps the reader to understand better that even though this is not correctly spelled, the writer knows that yes, it's not correctly spelled, and it has to be, there's a better spelling for it. Let's look at some examples. Example 1. Arising from the findings of a study, Lawal 2003 concludes, all stakeholders hence must be on deck to solve the problem once and for all. Once and for all. You can say that this once shouldn't be ONES. It should be ONCE. And that is why you have those sic, indicating that even though this is written this way, the writer is aware that it is wrong. So we let's just let's put this down. Inaccurate quotations, or you can call them common mistakes. Common mistakes. Common mistakes in quotations. You have once and for all. Once and for all instead of once. ONCE, and for all. Example 2, one cannot but be surprised to hear constructions such as, since the day I am born, I prefer yam than rice, coming from students in tertiary institutions today. Since the day I am born, that and should be was. So you can see the sixth sign immediately, coming immediately after it. Since the day I am born. Since the day I am born. The right thing should be, since the day I was born. Okay? The next one is, I prefer yam than rice. I prefer yam than rice. I prefer yam than rice. That is wrong too. The right thing should be, I prefer yam to rice. I prefer yam to rice. Okay. Citing works of two authors. If a citation is the product of two, this should be two. The product of two authors, both surnames should appear in the date following the usual pattern such as indicated in the following examples. Just like we have above, in this case we have two authors. So what you do is write the surname, Kolawole and Issa, and then the date in parentheses, or Kolawole and Issa with a comma and then 2003, that's the date, all in parentheses, all depending on the location of the citation in the text. Just like we said before, depending on where they are located. All right, that's for two authors. We have citing works of six authors. Where the authors are more than two, but not more than six. They're more than two, but not more than six. All of them must be cited as at when and where they first appeared in the text, while subsequent citations take cognizance of only the first named author, followed by a tal before the date. So the first one, you cite all their names. Example, you have, when cited for the first time, it takes this form: Olaoye, Kolawole, Issa, and Ango. You can see these are four authors. The first time, you make sure you type all their names. You put in all their names and with the date. But subsequent ones, you only need to put the first name. You don't have to keep wasting your time, the space and everything. Keep writing again and again. Once you've written all of them the very first time, subsequent ones, you only need to write the very first surname, Olaoye. When you write the first surname, then you put etal, et.al. That etal indicates that there are other names following that Olaoye. Okay. Citing works of corporate authorship. The same rule applies in corporate authorship. These same rules we've talked about, all these, whether it's personal or whatever, or corporate, the same rule applies to all of them. Involving organizations, it applies in corporate authorship, involving organizations, government and non-governmental agencies, corporations, associations, and other unions. This is particularly so for such corporate authorship whose names are too lengthy. This should be lengthy. When the names are too long, too lengthy. In this case, the names will be fully written only at the first instance in the body of the text, and then subsequently abbreviated. So this is the end of the course. This is the end of the course. I will be sending in the very last assignment to you. I wish you all the best. Have a great and wonderful day. Bye.